Chapter 2. Jean Valjean as a National Guard by Victor Hugo from the book Les Miserables. However, properly speaking, he lived in the Rue Plumet, and he had arranged his existence there in the following fashion. Cosette and the servant occupied the pavilion. She had the big sleeping room with the painted pier glasses, the boudoir with the gilded falaise, the justice's drawing room furnished with tapestries and vast armchairs. She had the garden. Jean Valjean had a canopied bed of antique damask in 3 colors and a beautiful Persian rug purchased in the Rue du Figure Saint Paul at Mother Gaucher's, put into Cosette's chamber. And, in order to redeem the severity of these magnificent old things, he had amalgamated with this bric-a-brac all the gay and graceful little pieces of furniture suitable to young girls, an étagère, a bookcase filled with gilt-edged books, an inkstand, a blotting book, paper, a work table encrusted with mother of pearl, a silver-gilt dressing case, a toilet service in Japanese porcelain, long damask curtains with a red foundation and 3 colors like those on the bed, hung at the windows of the first floor. On the ground floor, the curtains were of tapestry. All winter long, Cosette's little house was heated from top to bottom. Jean Valjean inhabited the sort of porter's lodge which was situated at the end of the back courtyard, with a mattress on a folding bed, a white wood table, 2 straw chairs, an earthenware water jug, a few old volumes on a shelf, his beloved valise in one corner, and never any fire. He dined with Cosette, and he had a loaf of black bread on the table for his own use. When Toussaint came, he had said to her, "It is the young lady who is the mistress of this house. And you, monsieur?" Toussaint replied in amazement, "I am a much better thing than the master, I am the father." Cosette had been taught housekeeping in the convent, and she regulated their expenditure, which was very modest. Every day, Jean Valjean put his arm through Cosette's and took her for a walk. He led her to the Luxembourg, to the least frequented walk, and every Sunday he took her to Mass at Saint-Jacques-du-Haut-Pas, because that was a long way off. As it was a very poor quarter, he bestowed alms largely there, and the poor people surrounded him in church, which had drawn down upon him Thénardier's epistle, to the benevolent gentleman of the church of Saint-Jacques-du-Haut-Pas. He was fond of taking Cosette to visit the poor and the sick. No stranger ever entered the house in the Rue Plumet. Toussaint brought their provisions, and Jean Valjean went himself for water to a fountain nearby on the boulevard. Their wood and wine were put into a half-subterranean hollow, lined with rockwork, which lay near the Rue de Babylone, and which had formerly served the Chief Justice as a grotto. For at the epoch of follies and little houses, no love was without a grotto. In the door opening on the Rue de Babylone, there was a box destined for the reception of letters and papers. Only, as the 3 inhabitants of the pavilion in the Rue Plumet received neither papers nor letters, the entire usefulness of that box, formerly the go-between of a love affair, and the confidant of a lovelorn lawyer, was now limited to the tax collector's notices, and the summons of the guard. For M. Fauchelevent, independent gentleman, belonged to the National Guard. He had not been able to escape through the fine meshes of the census of 1831. The municipal information collected at that time had even reached the convent of the Petit Picpus, a sort of impenetrable and holy cloud, whence Jean Valjean had emerged in venerable guise, and, consequently, worthy of mounting guard in the eyes of the town hall. 3 or 4 times a year, Jean Valjean donned his uniform and mounted guard. He did this willingly, however. It was a correct disguise which mixed him with everyone, and yet left him solitary. Jean Valjean had just attained his 60th birthday, the age of legal exemption, but he did not appear to be over 50. Moreover, he had no desire to escape his sergeant major nor to quibble with Comte de Lobau. He possessed no civil status, he was concealing his name, he was concealing his identity, so he concealed his age, he concealed everything, and, as we have just said, he willingly did his duty as a National Guard. The sum of his ambition lay in resembling any other man who paid his taxes. This man had for his ideal, within, the angel, without, the bourgeois. Let us note one detail, however. When Jean Valjean went out with Cosette, he dressed, as the reader has already seen, and had the air of a retired officer. When he went out alone, which was generally at night, he was always dressed in a working man's trousers and blouse, and wore a cap which concealed his face. Was this precaution or humility? Both. Cosette was accustomed to the enigmatical side of her destiny, and hardly noticed her father's peculiarities. As for Toussaint, she venerated Jean Valjean, and thought everything he did right. One day, her butcher, who had caught a glimpse of Jean Valjean, said to her, "That's a queer fish." She replied, "He's a saint." Neither Jean Valjean, nor Cosette, nor Toussaint ever entered or emerged except by the door on the Rue de Babylone. Unless seen through the garden gate, it would have been difficult to guess that they lived in the Rue Plumet. That gate was always closed. Jean Valjean had left the garden uncultivated in order not to attract attention. In this, possibly, he made a mistake.